The rain hit like a slap from God himself, turning the trail into a river of mud that sucked at Isaiah's boots like it wanted to drag him under. "Elijah! Wait, fuck! The map's ruined!" he shouted, but the words dissolved into the downpour, his voice cracking not just from the storm but from the raw terror clawing up his throat. In that split second, as lightning cracked the sky open over the Smoky Mountains, Isaiah realized they weren't just lost. They were erased, two specks in a wilderness that didn't give a damn about second chances. Elijah spun back, his broad shoulders heaving under the soaked flannel shirt that clung to his chest like a second skin, eyes wild with something fiercer than fear, regret. "I should have known better than to bring you out here, kid. Your dad trusted me, and look what I've done." The words hung heavy, laced with a bitterness that had nothing to do with the weather, and Isaiah felt the ground shift, not from the erosion, but from the unspoken truth Elijah had been burying deeper than these ancient roots. Isaiah had always idolized Elijah, the way a kid idolizes the uncle who shows up with stories sharper than switchblades and a laugh that could cut through church silence. Elijah was Dad's old college buddy, the one who'd crashed on their couch every summer since Isaiah could remember, regaling them with tales of backpacking the Pacific Crest and dodging corporate ladders in Seattle. He was 38 to Isaiah's 22, built like a lumberjack who'd traded axes for algorithms, tall, with that easy grin and blonde curls that frizzed in humidity like they were allergic to straight lines. Dad called him the Wild One, but to Isaiah, Elijah was a compass, pointing north when his own world spun off-kilter. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what Isaiah told himself as he packed his duffel that crisp September morning in Asheville. Dad had been gone 6 months, cancer, quick and merciless, leaving behind a house full of half-finished puzzles and a son adrift in community college classes that felt like wading through fog. "Go with Elijah," Dad had rasped from his hospital bed, gripping Isaiah's hand with the last of his fire. "He'll show you the trails I never got to. Get lost out there, son. It's the only way to find yourself." Isaiah had nodded, throat tight, because what else do you do when your hero's handing you his unfinished map? Elijah pulled up in his battered Subaru Forester, the one with the dent from a misadventure in Yellowstone, honking twice like they were heading to a ball game instead of a 3-day loop through the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. "Ready to eat dirt, Sprout?" he teased, tossing Isaiah a protein bar from the glove box. Isaiah laughed it off, but his pulse quickened at the nickname, Sprout, like he was still the gangly teen tagging along, not the man staring at Elijah's forearms flexing as he shifted gears. It was stupid, this flutter in his chest, the way his eyes lingered on the silver chain glinting against Elijah's collarbone. Isaiah had known he was gay since high school, buried it under football jerseys and fake crushes, but around Elijah, it felt like a live wire humming just under his skin. The first day blurred into a rhythm of switchbacks and sweat, the Appalachian air thick with pine and damp earth. They hiked the Alum Cave Trail at a clip that left Isaiah breathless, Elijah pointing out quartz veins in the rock like they were old friends. "Your dad loved this stretch," Elijah said over lunch at a bluff overlook, their sandwiches sweating in the humidity. Said it reminded him of us, solid under pressure, but crack once and you're done. Isaiah chewed slowly, watching Elijah's profile against the haze of blue ridges stretching to Tennessee. There was a weight to his voice, a shadow that flickered when he mentioned Dad, but Isaiah chalked it up to grief. They all carried it like extra packs. By afternoon, the trail steepened, roots snaking across the path like veins. Isaiah slipped once, grabbing a sapling, and Elijah's hand shot out, strong, calloused, steadying him with a grip that lingered a beat too long. "Easy there," Elijah murmured, thumb brushing Isaiah's wrist. And in that electric pause, Isaiah wondered if the heat rising in his face was from the climb or something forbidden. They pressed on, the forest closing in like a cathedral of green, ferns whispering secrets to the wind. Camp that night was a firelit bubble of normalcy. Beans bubbling in a pot, Elijah strumming an old guitar with chords that echoed Johnny Cash and Heartbreak. Isaiah sprawled on his sleeping bag, nursing a beer, the flames dancing shadows across Elijah's face. "You ever think about settling down?" Isaiah asked, the alcohol loosening his tongue. Elijah's fingers stilled on the strings, his laugh rough around the edges. "Me? Not. Roads are for wandering, not nesting. Your dad tried to rope me into that life once. Wife, picket fence. Didn't stick." He didn't elaborate, but the way his eyes flicked to the fire, then away, told Isaiah there was a story there, one etched in whiskey burns and what-ifs. Isaiah dreamed that night of forests on fire, Elijah pulling him from the flames, their bodies tangled in smoke and salvation. He woke hard and aching, dawn light filtering through the tent mesh, and cursed himself for it. This was Dad's friend, for Christ's sake, a man who'd bounced him on his knee at barbecues. But as they broke camp, Elijah's casual morning, handsome over coffee, sent a jolt straight to Isaiah's core, and he buried it deep, like acorns under leaf litter. Day 2 dawned muggy, the sky bruised with promise of rain. They veered off the marked trail onto what Elijah swore was a shortcut to Mount LeConte. His idea, born of some half-remembered map from a trip with Dad 20 years back. "Trust me," he'd said with that wolfish grin, and Isaiah did, because what choice did a lost boy have but to follow the man who knew the stars? The path narrowed to a deer trace, brambles snagging at their jeans like needy fingers. Conversation flowed easy at first, Elijah ribbing Isaiah about his city soft hands, Isaiah firing back about Elijah's dad bod, that was anything but. Laughter echoed off the rhododendrons, thick as jungle, but as the hours ticked by, the trail ghosted away. "Should be a creek up ahead," Elijah muttered, checking his compass, but the only water was sweat beading on his brow. By midday, doubt crept in like fog. Isaiah's phone had no bars, the GPS app frozen on a smug, acquiring signal. "We're fine," Elijah insisted, but his jaw tightened, the easy swagger cracking. They pushed on, the forest thickening into a labyrinth of moss-draped boulders and fallen logs that forced them to scramble. Isaiah's calves burned, blisters blooming, but it was the silence that gnawed, the way Elijah's chatter dried up, replaced by clipped directions. "Left, up, watch your step." Then the sky split. Rain hammered down in sheets, turning the ground to slurry. Isaiah's pack grew leaden, water sluicing into his eyes. "Elijah!" he yelled over the roar, voice breaking as he skidded on a root, slamming knee first into rock. Pain flared white-hot, but worse was the emptiness ahead. No trail, no markers, just endless green swallowing them whole. Elijah hauled him up, arm around his waist, their bodies pressed slick and desperate. "I've got you," he growled, breath hot against Isaiah's ear, and in that moment, lost and lashed by the storm, Isaiah felt the dam inside him fracture. They stumbled into a shallow cave, little more than an overhang carved by some ancient flood, and collapsed against the damp wall, chests heaving. Lightning strobed the gloom, thunder rumbling like Judgment Day. Isaiah peeled off his shirt, shivering, the chill raising gooseflesh on his lean frame. Elijah did the same, his flannel hitting the ground with a wet slap, revealing the taut lines of his torso, scarred from God knows what scrapes. Isaiah's gaze snagged there, heat pooling low despite the cold, and he looked away, heart pounding. "We'll wait it out," Elijah said, rummaging for the emergency blanket, his voice steady but eyes haunted. He draped it over them both, the mylar crinkling like foil, pulling Isaiah close under the guise of warmth. Their thighs touched, denim to denim, and Isaiah's breath hitched. The storm raged outside, wind howling through the trees like a banshee, but in that cramped space, the world narrowed to the rise and fall of Elijah's ribs, the faint scent of pine soap clinging to his skin. "Tell me about you and Dad," Isaiah blurted, needing distraction from the ache building in his chest. "The real story. Not the bullshit campfire versions." Elijah tensed, his hand stilling on Isaiah's shoulder. Silence stretched, broken only by rain's relentless tattoo. "We were more than friends," he finally said, voice low, like confessing to the devil. "Back in college. Drunk nights, bad decisions. He chose the straight path, married your mom, built the life. I couldn't. Ran instead." Isaiah's world tilted. Dad? The man who'd taught him to throw a spiral, who hugged too tight at his games. Gay? The word lodged in his throat, but it fit, sudden and right, like a key in a long-locked door. "Did he know about me?" Isaiah whispered, the pieces slamming together, his own hidden crushes, the way Dad's eyes had softened when he caught Isaiah staring at the quarterback. Elijah nodded, slow, pain etching lines around his mouth. "He suspected. Told me once, after a fight with your mom, that you were just like us. But he made me promise no crossing lines. You were off limits, Sprout. Always would be." The nickname twisted now, laced with longing Isaiah hadn't seen before. Elijah's hand cupped his jaw, thumb tracing the stubble there, and Isaiah leaned into it, eyes locking on Elijah's, storm gray, swirling with the same hunger. "I can't," Elijah breathed, but his body betrayed him, pulling Isaiah closer until their lips brushed, tentative, tasting of rain and regret. The kiss ignited like dry tinder, fierce and fumbling, hands roaming slick skin as thunder applauded. Isaiah poured everything into it, the loneliness, the grief, the years of wanting what he couldn't name. Elijah groaned, deep and broken, fingers tangling in Isaiah's dark hair, but then he shoved back, scrambling to his feet. "Fuck. This is wrong. Your dad. He'd want us happy," Isaiah gasped, reaching out, but Elijah turned away, shoulders knotted like oak. The storm eased to a drizzle, leaving them raw, the air thick with what they'd unleashed. They dressed in silence, the blanket discarded like a shed skin, and ventured out into the sodden world, the forest no longer a maze but a mirror, reflecting back their fractured selves. Night fell heavy, stars punching through clouds like bullet holes. They found a dryish hollow under a hemlock, pitching the tent with mechanical efficiency. Inside, the space felt smaller, charged. Isaiah lay awake, listening to Elijah's uneven breaths, the unspoken words piling like fallen leaves. "Why'd you bring me out here?" he asked the darkness. Elijah shifted, voice rough. to honor him, to give you what he couldn't, a piece of the wild. But mostly, to see you. Really see you. Admission hung there, vulnerable as the exposed root. Isaiah rolled toward him, their faces inches apart in the sleeping bag's cocoon. I see you too, he murmured, and this time, when their mouths met, it was slower, deeper, a confession sealed in salt and need. They made love by feel, hands mapping scars and secrets. Elijah's whispers fierce against Isaiah's neck. Beautiful boy, my ruin. It was messy, urgent. The forest floor their witness, branches creaking approval, owls hooting benediction. Afterward, tangled and spent, Elijah held him close, murmuring apologies for the years stolen, the truths buried. Isaiah traced the chain around his neck. St. Christopher metal dad had given him, and felt the circle close. Father, friend, son, bound in ways blood couldn't touch. Dawn brought clarity, or so they thought. The trail reappeared, faint but insistent, leading them down toward Klingman's dome. Elation buzzed between them, hands brushing as they walked, stolen glances loaded with promise. We'll figure it out, Elijah said over trail mix, squeezing Isaiah's knee. Back in Asheville, no hiding. I owe you that, but the forest had one last trick. As they crested a ridge, voices echoed, rangers, search parties barking coordinates into radios. Relief flooded Isaiah, but Elijah froze, face draining of color. They know, Isaiah asked, confused. Elijah's laugh was bitter. Your mom called M. Said I was unreliable, that I'd get you killed like I almost did your dad once. The words landed like a gut punch. Isaiah reeled, memories twisting. That summer dad came home bruised, blaming a hiking mishap with Elijah. What happened? Elijah's eyes shuddered. We got lost. Fought. He fell, nothing major, but it broke something. He blamed me for pushing too far, for the life he couldn't live. Swore me off. I left town, didn't come back for years. Betrayal soured Isaiah's joy, the intimacy of the night curdling. Had Elijah brought him here to atone, or to chase ghosts? You used me, Isaiah accused, voice cracking. To fix what you broke with him. No, Elijah reached, but Isaiah jerked away, the ridge suddenly vast and unforgiving. Rangers crested the hill, spotting them, shouts of over here, shattering the air. Elijah's face crumpled, the wild man reduced to a boy caught stealing. I love you, Isaiah. Not as a substitute. As you. But the words landed hollow, drowned in the chopper's distant thrum. Isaiah turned, following the rangers down, Elijah's pleas fading behind like echoes in a canyon. The betrayal stung deeper than blisters, a thorn in the heart of their fragile bloom. Rescue was a blur of questions and thermoses of bad coffee at the trailhead. Isaiah's mom enveloped him in lavender-scented hugs, whispering thank God, while shooting Elijah daggers over his shoulder. Elijah stood apart, soaked and silent, accepting a blanket like a shroud. Their eyes met once, raw, pleading, but Isaiah looked away, the forest's gift now a curse. Back in Asheville, the world reassembled in pieces. Classes resumed. Mom's casseroles filled the fridge. Elijah vanished into radio silence. Isaiah replayed it all, the storm, the cave, the hollow, the love they'd clawed from the dirt now rotting in his chest. He hiked solo after that, short loops around town, chasing closure in the rustle of leaves. But the wild had marked him, etched Elijah's touch into his bones. 2 weeks later, a knock shattered the quiet. Elijah on the porch, unshaven, eyes red-rimmed, holding Dad's old compass. "I lied," he said, voice gravel. "Not about loving you. About the fall. Your dad pushed me, jealous, drunk on secrets. We both tumbled, both bled. He forgave me because he had to, for you. But I never forgave myself." He pressed the compass into Isaiah's palm. "North steady. Go find your way. If it's with me, I'll wait." Isaiah's throat burned, the betrayal fracturing into understanding. Flawed men, loving in the dark. He pulled Elijah inside, the door clicking shut like a vow. They talked till dawn, unraveling threads, Dad's hidden letters, Elijah's bar crawls to drown the ache, Isaiah's own fears of a love too big for small-town mirrors. No grand gestures, just hands clasped over coffee, the humanistic truth settling like dew. Love isn't a trail without pitfalls. It's navigating them together, scarred and sure. Months blurred into a tentative rhythm. Elijah renting a cabin on the outskirts, Isaiah finishing his semester, their evenings walks in the woods, no maps needed. They scattered Dad's ashes on that ridge, toasting with bourbon under stars that felt less distant. Betrayal's scar faded to silver, a reminder that getting lost isn't the end. It's the forge where hearts are remade. In the end, the forest didn't change everything. It revealed what was always there. Two souls, intertwined like roots under soil, growing toward light. And in America's wild heart, where mountains whisper forgiveness, Isaiah found not just Elijah, but himself whole, wanted, wild. The compass spun lazy in Isaiah's pocket as he navigated the familiar chaos of Blue Ridge Parkway traffic. The Subaru's wipers slapping back September drizzle that clung to the windshield like half-forgotten regrets. It had been 3 months since the rescue, 3 months of stolen weekends where Elijah's cabin became sanctuary. A ramshackle A-frame with creaky floors and a wood stove that smoked when it rained, smelling of pine sap and the faint tang of Elijah's aftershave. Isaiah gripped the wheel tighter, heart a drumbeat against his ribs. Because tonight wasn't just dinner. It was the talk. The one where they dragged skeletons from closets and decided if this fragile thing between them could bear the weight of daylight. Elijah was at the stove when Isaiah pushed through the door, sleeves rolled to elbows, stirring venison chili with a wooden spoon that looked carved from the same oak as the beams overhead. "Smells like sin," Isaiah said, dropping his keys on the scarred pine table, forcing levity to mask the knot in his gut. Elijah turned, that grin cracking his face like sunlight on frost. Easy, disarming, the one that had hooked Isaiah years ago over backyard burgers. "Only the best for my sprout." "How's the grind?" Same old, professors droning about supply chains like it's poetry. Isaiah shrugged off his jacket, hanging it by the door where a hook sagged under the weight of too many memories. Community college was a limbo, a holding pattern until he figured out art school applications or whatever wild dream Elijah kept nudging him toward. "Mom's on my case about Thanksgiving. Wants us all normal again." The word hung, barbed. Elijah's spoon paused, steam curling like ghosts. "Normal. Right." He ladled chili into bowls, movements precise, but Isaiah caught the flicker, the shadow that crossed his face when family talk veered too close to mirrors. They ate at the table, knees brushing under it, the radio humming low with Lucinda Williams crooning about passion's thorns. Conversation danced around edges. The new trail Elijah was scouting for the Park Service. Isaiah's sketches of the cave overhang now pinned to the fridge like talismans. But the air thickened with unspoken, the chilly cooling untouched. Isaiah set his spoon down, the clink loud in the hush. We need to talk about it. The lost part, not just the forest. Elijah's eyes lifted, storm gray holding steady, but his jaw ticked. That tell Isaiah had learned like Braille. About how you ghosted after the Rangers. How I spent nights wondering if that night was pity or panic. Elijah pushed back from the table, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. It wasn't pity, Isaiah. Christ, you know that. He paced to the window, fogged glass framing the dark woods beyond, where pines stood sentinel. Panic? Yeah. Woke up next to you. Felt like I'd robbed a grave. Your dad's ghost breathing down my neck. He made me promise. Kid. Keep him straight. Eli. Don't fuck him up like you did me. The words landed heavy. Elijah's back to him, shoulders rigid as the Appalachians themselves. Isaiah rose, crossing the room in 3 strides, hand on Elijah's arm warm, tense. Dad's gone. And he wasn't straight, we both know that now. What he wanted doesn't chain us. But Elijah turned, eyes fierce, grabbing Isaiah's wrist. Not hard, but unyielding. It does to me. I watched him bury it. Marry your mom. Build walls so high he drowned behind him. I won't do that to you. Drag you into my mess of half-lives and what-ifs. The room spun, chilly forgotten, as Isaiah yanked him close, foreheads touching, breaths mingling hot and ragged. Your mess is mine now. That cave, it wasn't a fluke. I chose you, chose us, lost in the rain, and I'd do it again. Elijah's resolve cracked, a low growl escaping as he crushed their mouths together, kiss bruising with the force of dammed rivers breaking. Hands fisted shirts, stumbling back against the counter, bowls clattering to the floor in a shatter of ceramic and spice. They didn't make it to the bedroom. Elijah hoisted Isaiah onto the table, papers scattering like leaves in gale, their bodies colliding with the urgency of mendicants seeking grace. Tell me to stop, Elijah rasped, teeth grazing Isaiah's collarbone. But Isaiah arched up, legs wrapping vice-tight. Never. It was worship and war, skin sliding slick with sweat. Elijah's murmurs a litany of mine and sorry and love. Isaiah's nails raking paths down his back like claiming territory. After, sprawled amid the wreckage, Elijah traced lazy circles on Isaiah's chest, the metal chain cool between them. I wrote him letters. He confessed to the ceiling, voice threadbare. After he married, poured out the ache, burned them in campfires. Thought it'd exorcise you, the son who'd grow up to haunt me. Isaiah's laugh was soft, pained. Haunt away. I'm here. But dawn brought the real storm, not rain, but reckoning. Isaiah's phone buzzed insistent on the floor. Mom's text, Thanksgiving at Aunt Rita's. Bring Elijah if he's still playing hero. The casual barb sliced, a reminder of the world's narrow gaze. Elijah saw it, face shuddering. Go without me. I'll bow out, old family friend. No need to stir pots. No. Isaiah sat up, fire kindling. We face it together. Or what's the point? Elijah's silence was answer enough, the old fear coiling like smoke. Days blurred into tension. Hikes where Elijah's hand pulled away mid-trail. Dinners laced with subtext. Isaiah sketched furiously, Elijah's profile against fiery maples. The cave's arch as a heart's vault. But the paper felt thin, unable to capture the widening chasm. The betrayal resurfaced in fragments. A box in Elijah's closet, unearthed during laundry, faded photos of Dad and him, arms slung casual, eyes anything but. A letter, yellowed. Dad's scrawl, Eli, don't come back. For his sake. Isaiah confronted him by the wood stove, flames leaping like accusations. You kept this? Lied about forgiving? Elijah's face crumpled. Ash-gray. I was protecting you from the ugly parts. He hated me at the end. Isaiah blamed the lifestyle for his regrets, even as he lived it in shadows. The words eviscerated, painting Dad not as hero but hypocrite, Elijah as the scapegoat who'd shouldered the sins. Isaiah stormed out into the dusk, boots crunching gravel, the parkway a ribbon of red taillights mocking his solitude. He drove aimless, radio blasting Springsteen anthems of blue-collar ghosts, until the pull of the wild tugged him back, to the trailhead where it all ignited. Moonlight silvered the path, and there was Elijah, waiting on a log, thermos in hand like peace offering. Knew you'd come, he said, voice steady. This place, it calls us back, doesn't it? They walked in sync, silence companionable at first, then spilling into truths. Elijah's string of bar hookups to numb the void, Isaiah's college flings that tasted like ash because none had Elijah's gravel laugh. I betrayed you first, Isaiah admitted, halting at the overlook where they'd lunched that doomed day. Kept my feelings locked. Let you think I was just the kid. Elijah pulled him close, wind whispering through oaks. Then we're even, Sprout. Betrayals are just detours. Their kiss was salt-sweet, stars wheeling above like blessings. No climax of screams, just quiet surrender, the humanistic pulse of two men, flawed as the land, choosing each other amid the ruins. Thanksgiving dawned crisp. Rita's ranch house in Gatlinburg a riot of turkey and tinsel. Mom's eyes narrowed at Elijah's arrival, arm linked with Isaiah's. But Rita, bless her chain-smoking soul, pulled him into bear hugs, declaring him family since diapers. Dinner was a minefield. Uncle Ray's off-color jokes about boys' trips, Mom's tight smiles over pie, but Elijah's hand under the table, thumb stroking Isaiah's knuckles, anchored him. After, as kin dispersed into football and gossip, Mom cornered them on the porch, cigarette trembling in her fingers. He told me, you know, about you two before the end. Smoke curled, her eyes wet. Said to let you be free. I failed him there. Forgiveness flowed unexpected, a river carving stone, and Isaiah hugged her fierce. Elijah's gnawed silent solidarity. Winter settled soft, snow blanketing the cabin in hush. They built a life in increments. Elijah's park ranger shifts meshing with Isaiah's art classes, weekends lost in each other's arms by the fire. The forest watched, indifferent witness, as they healed, betrayals transmuted to wisdom, love a steady flame against the cold. One spring eve, as dogwoods bloomed pink confetti, Elijah dropped to one knee on that ridge, ring simple silver etched with coordinates. Marry me in the wild, Isaiah. No churches, no crowds, just us and the mountains. Tears pricked, joy sharp as summit air. Yes, Isaiah breathed, pulling him up into a kiss that echoed thunder. Their wedding was barefoot, vows exchanged under the cave's overhang. Rangers and kin circled round a bonfire. Laughter rang, Beers clinked, and as stars pricked the velvet sky, Isaiah knew the lost had led to found, a romance forged in rain and revelation, humanistic in its messy grace. Summer unfurled sticky and insistent in the Smokies, humidity wrapping the air like a damp blanket. But Isaiah thrived in it, the way it made Elijah's curls frizz wild, the way sweat traced paths down his neck during their pre-dawn runs. Marriage had settled into them like good earth, roots delving deep, shared bank account for the cabin Reno. Isaiah's first gallery show in Knoxville featuring forest portraits that whispered their story in oils and shadow. Life felt stitched whole, the betrayals of autumn now footnotes in a larger narrative of chosen kin. Yet the wild never sleeps. Stirred one July weekend, Elijah's voice crackling over the phone from his ranger outpost. Got a call. Hikers missing on LeConte. Bad fog. Possible injury. You in? Isaiah's pulse quickened, that old thrill-laced fear coiling. Always. He grabbed the pack first aid kit. Flares. The compass now engraved us, and hit the trail, the forest welcoming him like a lover's arms, familiar and fierce. They linked up at the trailhead, Elijah in uniform khakis that hugged his frame, radio clipped to his belt buzzing static. His kiss was quick, grounding, stay sharp, love. This one's got teeth. The group assembled, 4 rangers, 2 volunteers, Isaiah the wild card with his artist's eye for anomalies. Fog blanketed the slopes like milk, muting birdsong, turning pines to phantoms. They fanned out, voices calling grid patterns, but Isaiah hung back with Elijah, their sync honed like blades. Hours bled into a gray haze, boots sucking mud, frustration mounting as leads fizzled. Snapped twigs that were dear, not desperation. Then Elijah's radio spat urgency. Visual on one male, mid-40s, leg pinned under log. Second unaccounted. Adrenaline surged, the team converging on a ravine where mist swirled like spirits. The man, call him Tom, wallet ID later, groaned under a fallen hemlock, face ashen, jeans shredded to bloody ribbons. My boy. Caleb. He went for help. Isaiah's stomach dropped, the echo of his own lost cries in the storm. Elijah took charge. Calm as bedrock. We're getting you out. Isaiah. Scout upslope. Look for tracks. Alone in the fog. Heart hammering. Isaiah clambered, eye scanning for bent grass, scuffs on bark. The forest hummed indifferent, but then, a flash of red, a kid's jacket snagged on thornbush, descending into a gully. Elijah, he yelled, voice swallowed, but instinct drove him down, slick rocks treacherous. He found Caleb huddled in a crevice, 14 maybe, shivering violent, eyes wide with animal terror. Hey, easy, Isaiah soothed, shedding his jacket to wrap the boy, hands steady despite the quake in his chest. Your dad's safe. Rangers have him. You're gonna be okay. Caleb clung, sobs muffled in Isaiah's shirt, the trust raw and reciprocal, a mirror to the cave, where Elijah had been his anchor. I thought. The woods ate him, the kid whispered, and Isaiah's throat tightened, murmuring, they don't eat us. They teach us. Hoisting Caleb piggyback, Isaiah navigated up, legs burning, fog lifting like a veil to reveal Elijah's silhouette, relief etching his face as he rushed forward. Got him, Isaiah panted, transferring the boy to medics, Elijah's arm slinging around his waist in a crush of pride and possession. My hero, Elijah murmured, kiss pressed to temple amid the bustle. The rescue wrapped clean, Tom airlifted, Caleb reunited, slaps on backs and thermos coffee shared under clearing skies. But the wild's lessons linger. That night, back at the cabin, porch light haloing them in gold, Elijah cracked beers, his gaze distant over the rim. You scared me today, charging off like that. Reminded me of us, lost and stubborn. Isaiah leaned into him, head on shoulder, the day's grime a badge. Scared myself. But we found them. Like we found each other. Elijah's chuckle rumbled low. Yeah. Though your mom still thinks I'm the devil who led you astray. Laughter bubbled, but sobered quick. Thanksgiving's truce had thawed, but old chills lingered. Mom's calls were warmer now, laced with questions about settling. Her own widow's loneliness peeking through like sun through clouds. She misses Dad, Isaiah said soft. Misses the man she thought he was. Elijah nodded, fingers interlacing. We all do. But the truth's freed us, hasn't it? They sat in companionable hush, crickets chorusing, fireflies winking like secrets. Love, Isaiah mused, was this not fireworks, but fireflies, fleeting lights in the dark, illuminating paths forward. Autumn crept in on russet wings, leaves carpeting trails in crunch underfoot. Isaiah's gallery buzzed success, a solo show, whispers of the wild, selling out to tourists hungry for smoky lore. Elijah surprised him opening night, suit ill-fitting but smile sharp, toasting with cheap champagne amid admirers cooing over the cave piece. Two figures entwined in stormlight, anonymous yet achingly intimate. That's us, a buyer breathed, and Elijah's pride swelled, hand possessive at Isaiah's back. But conflict brewed subtle, insidious. Elijah's ex from Seattle emailing, miss our adventures. Coffee when you're east. Innocent on surface, but Isaiah saw the hook, the pull of old freedoms. Just closure. Elijah swore over dinner, but doubt seeded, watered by Isaiah's own insecurities, the age gap yawning in quiet moments, whispers of cradle robbing from Rita's gossip circle. Crested mid-October, fog-shrouded hike to their ridge. Isaiah's words tumbled sharp. Am I just the young fix? The one who makes you feel alive without the mess? Elijah halted, face thunderous. Christ, Isaiah, after everything, you're my mess. My everything. But the fight escalated. Accusations flying like acorns in gale. Elijah's deleted emails a betrayal fresh as blood. Isaiah's jealousy a mirror to Dad's old poisons. They parted fuming. Isaiah storming to the car. Elijah vanishing into mist. Hours later. Voicemail. Elijah's voice wrecked. Come back. Please. I blocked him. Told him about you, us. No more ghosts. Isaiah drove through tears, finding Elijah at the cave, drenched not in rain but regret, knees drawn up like the boy he'd been. Forgive me, he begged, and Isaiah knelt, pulling him into rain-slick embrace. Always. But no more hiding. Winter's grip tightened, snow blanketing sins. They shoveled driveways together, built snowmen lewd and laughing, the cold forging intimacy deeper. Mom visited, bearing pie and tentative questions, her eyes softening at their joined hands. He'd be proud, she said of Dad, and for once, it rang true, no shadows, just light refracted through prisms of truth. Spring bloomed renewal. Isaiah's acceptance to Savannah College of Art, Elijah's promotion to lead ranger, their talks of relocation laced with excitement, not fear. The forest, ever the teacher, yielded wildflowers at their feet, trillium white as absolution. One balmy June eve, anniversary marked by picnic on the overlook, Elijah unpacked a folder, divorce papers from a shotgun Seattle marriage, long dissolved but never fully mourned. Full disclosure, he said, voice steady. No more half-truths. Isaiah burned them in a tin can fire, ashes scattering to wind, a ritual sealing their pact. Summer circled back, heat wave shimmering, and with it, a new rescue, flash flood sweeping a family downstream. They dove in tandem, Elijah hauling the father, Isaiah the toddler giggling through terror. Adrenaline's high crashed into exhaustion, but home brought release. Bodies entwined slow and sure, reaffirming the bond no flood could wash away. In the quiet after, Elijah traced Isaiah's wedding band, silver glinting. Think Dad's watching? Smiling? Isaiah smiled too, heart full. Bet he's hiking with us. Invisible trailblazer, the humanistic arc bent gentle. From loss to love, betrayal to belonging, the wild heart of America cradling their story like an open palm. The move to Savannah unfolded like a fever dream, boxes crammed into the Subaru's maw, Elijah's guitar strapped to the roof like a talisman against the miles. Isaiah gripped the atlas, fingers ink-stained from late-night sketches, as interstates unspooled from Asheville's embrace. Blue ridges fading to Piedmont flats, then the Lowcountry's humid haze. Think we'll miss the mountains? Elijah asked, hand on thigh, thumb circling denim like a promise. Every damn day, Isaiah replied, but his voice held thrill, the pull of new horizons. SCAD's campus a labyrinth of brick and ambition waiting to swallow him whole. Elijah's job transfer to a coastal preserve felt like compromise, his ranger badge now patrolling salt marshes instead of granite peaks. But his eyes lit when he spoke of gnarled oaks and tidal secrets. It's still wild, Sprout. Just wetter. Savannah welcomed them crooked and charming. A shotgun rental in the Victorian district, porches sagging under wisteria, neighbors with drawls thick as molasses. Unpacking unearthed relics, the compass on the mantel, Dad's letters in a cedar box, Elijah's ex's photo consigned to trash but ghosts lingering in quiet corners. Nights, they christened rooms with laughter and gasps, ceiling fans whirring accomplice, the city's jazz drifting up from Forsyth Park like invitation. Classes hit Isaiah like a squall, figure drawing till knuckles cramped, critiques that flayed egos bare. He poured the forest into canvas, storm-lashed caves, ridgetop confessions, titles like echoes unburied, earning nods from profs with accents like bourbon. Elijah thrived too, leading eco-tours for tourists in linen shorts. His tales of smoky lore spiced with coastal twists, charm drawing tips and blushes alike. But the chasm yawned in subtleties. Elijah's late shifts clashing with Isaiah's studio crawls, bar tabs with colleagues raising Isaiah's hackles. Innocent, he swore, but echoes of Seattle specters. You're jealous of sand and shrimp boils? Elijah teased one humid eve, but humor masked the strain, their arguments blooming thorny like Spanish moss. Climax brewed in August, heat wave baking the city to delirium. Isaiah's big show loomed, senior thesis, fractured trails, juried by Atlanta bigwigs, and nerves frayed him raw. Elijah, buried in a marsh restoration grant, missed the dress rehearsal, phone dead, apology texts landing cold. You promised, Isaiah hurled when he stumbled in at midnight, reeking of salt and scotch. Elijah's face hardened, exhaustion etching furrows. World doesn't pause for art openings. Isaiah. Some of us pay bills with sweat, not strokes. The barb struck deep, class whispers. Elijah's blue-collar roots clashing with Scad's silver spoon sheen. Isaiah recoiled. Words venom. And some of us chase dreams while you chase ghosts. Those colleagues with handsy laughs? Silence cracked like lightning. Elijah's eyes blazed. Betrayal's old blade twisting. You think I'm cheating? After vows. After everything. He grabbed his keys. Storming into the night. Truck roaring away toward the marsh like escape. Isaiah collapsed on the bed. Sobs racking. The empty house mocking with its creaks. Betrayal self-inflicted. His insecurities a poison he'd swigged alone. Dawn found him at the riverfront, sketching the savannah's lazy bend, tears salting the page. Elijah's text pinged. At the preserve. Come. Need you. Heart leaden. Isaiah drove south, the bridge spanning brackish waters like a threshold. He found Elijah on a dock, boots dangling over tide, face streaked salt, not sea, but sorrow. I drank too much, he admitted, voice raw. Felt the age tonight, 40 staring back in the mirror, you blooming 24. What if I'm holding you back? Isaiah sank beside him, hand finding Elijah's, calluses rough as truth. You're propelling me. That cave, it wasn't just survival, it was you seeing me, all of me. Waves lapped confession. Elijah leaning head on shoulder. I emailed him again, the ex. Not for coffee. To end it final. Happily hitched, I wrote. Sent your sketch with it. Laughter bubbled. Cathartic. As Isaiah pulled the phone. Reading the reply, damn. Eli. He's a keeper. Don't fuck it up. Forgiveness flowed title. Pulling them under in a kiss tasting of brine and renewal. Back home. They made love languid on the porch swing. Neighbors be damned. Bodies sinking like tides to moon. The show opened to acclaim, Fractured Trails hailed as visceral queer odyssey. A critic noting the tender ferocity of reclaimed wilderness. Elijah stood front row. Eyes shining. Arm proud around Isaiah's waist for photos. The betrayal scar now a strength. Fall gilded the live oaks. Leaves drifting like gold coins. Mom visited. Train from Asheville. Her hugs tighter. Eyes appraising the gallery walls. Your father's in every stroke, she said. Voice thick. And over pralines at Leopold's. She spilled her own buried ache. Dad's affairs, not with Elijah, but fleeting men in motel shadows. Confessions she'd buried for sanity. He loved us, messy as he was. Isaiah held her hand. Elijah's nod wise, the circle widening to include her in their mosaic. Winter brought gales off the Atlantic, shutters rattling like warnings, but they weathered nested, Elijah carving decoys for holiday markets, Isaiah lecturing guest spots on narrative in nature. A nor'easter trapped them indoors. Power out, candles flickering, faces intimate. Remember the cave? Elijah murmured, tracing Isaiah's jaw. Thought I'd die happy. Just holding you. You didn't die. We lived. Isaiah's reply sealed with a kiss. The storm outside paling to their inner gale. Spring's azaleas exploded pink. And with them, conflict's echo. Elijah's promotion offer. Back to the Smokies. Head ranger. Pull north like gravity. Your program's here, he argued over crawfish boil. Steam rising acrid. Isaiah's fork paused. heart-cleaving. Art's portable. You? That's your soul. Debate raged weeks, pros cons listed on napkins, hikes along the marsh where fiddler crabs scuttled like doubts. Betrayal lurked in the choice. Stay. Stagnate Elijah's fire. Go. Uproot Isaiah's bloom. Climax crested in tears at the dock. Elijah's voice breaking. Can't lose you to my wanderlust. Not again. Isaiah cupped his face. Fierce. Then we go together. Reclaim the mountains, build there. Decision landed like anchor. Relief flooding. They packed light. Savannah a fond detour. The wild calling home. Summer scorched return. Cabin expanded with a studio wing. Canvases unfurling across walls. Mom relocated nearby. Widow's house sold for a bungalow with garden. Her laughter ringing at barbecues where Rita grilled Elijah on grandkids with wink. Love deepened roots. Anniversaries on ridges. Rescues shared. The humanistic weave tightening. Flaws not fractures, but fibers strengthening the whole. One twilight hike. Fireflies rising like embers. Elijah halted, pulling a velvet box, vows renewed. Rings etched with cave coordinates. Forever lost with you, he said, and Isaiah's yes echoed eternal, the forest sighing approval. Years layered like sediment, the Smokies' granite heart unchanging witness to their accrual. Isaiah's tenure at a Knoxville gallery, canvases commanding galleries from Nashville to NYC. Elijah's grizzled captaincy, badge burnished by a decade's rescues, his tales now legend among rookies. The cabin swelled, loft bedroom with skylights framing constellations, garden plot yielding tomatoes fat as fists. Mom aged graceful, silver threading her bob. Holidays a raucous affair with Rita's brood and Elijah's ranger pals, toasts sloshing to the wild ones. Yet time's tide erodes, subtle as root creep. 50. Elijah's knee buckled on a patrol. Old cave twinge flaring chronic, forcing desk duty and dark moods. Useless, he'd mutter over coffee. Eyes on maps he couldn't chase. Isaiah countered with hikes paced slow. Hands linked, but frustration fermented. Elijah snapping at sketches left askew. Isaiah retreating to studio silences. Betrayal slithered in autumn's chill. Elijah's phone buzzing late. Missed the old days. Drinks? Sender. An old Seattle flame. Relocated to Chattanooga for work. Innocent catch-up. Elijah swore. Deleting threads. But Isaiah glimpsed the glow. Heart cracking like frost-heaved earth. After all this? He confronted in the kitchen. Voice shard sharp. Rain lashing windows like accusations. Elijah's face blanched. Hands raised surrender. Coffee, Isaiah. Closure on legs that don't run anymore. But doubt poisoned. Isaiah's nights sleepless. Sketching Elijah's profile fierce and fading. The love once electric now flickering. Arguments escalated. Elijah's "You're young. Go live" a dagger. Isaiah's "I'm here. See me" a plea lost in wind. Climax shattered one November gale. Elijah vanishing post-shift. Truck found at a trailhead. Phone dead. Isaiah's panic mirrored the cave. Rangers mobilized. Mom's calls frantic. His own screams swallowed by storm as he plunged into woods. Flashlight beam slicing dark. Elijah! Echoes mocked. Branches whipping face. Until he crested the ridge, their overlook. Finding him huddled by the fire ring. Sodden and spent. A half-empty flask glinting betrayal. You left me, Isaiah choked. Dropping to knees. Rain mingling tears. Elijah's eyes. red-rimmed, met his raw, ruined, needed to feel something. The knee, the years, felt buried alive. Confession spilled. The meet-up, yes, but walked out after one drink. Ghosts fleeing at the sight of Isaiah's ring on his finger. You're my anchor, not my cage. But I caged myself. Isaiah's rage dissolved in embrace. Bodies rocking in mud. The storms roar their requiem. We uncaged together, he whispered, hauling Elijah up. Their trek home a pilgrimage, slow, synced, the forest's arms enfolding. Winter healed incremental therapy sessions in Asheville. Elijah's limp a badge not burden. Isaiah's art turning inward, tempests tamed. Series of weathered lovers against elemental fury. Mom mediated. Her widow's wisdom bomb. Your dad ran too. Once. Came back wiser. Elijah's laugh returned. Gravelly, as they shoveled snow, building forts like boys. Spring's thaw mirrored thaw. Elijah's knee surgery. Isaiah bedside vigil. Recovery hikes on canes that clacked like applause. They renewed again. Casual at City Hall. Rings resized. Cake from Rita's bakery smeared in frosting fights. Love, humanistic core, proved not erosion but enrichment. Scars mapping depths, not divides. Summer's zenith brought legacy. A boy, adopted from foster churn, named after Dad Gabriel, Gabe for short, 5 and feral, scaling cabin walls like ivy. Elijah's eyes softened paternal, teaching him whittling. Isaiah sketching pudgy fists clutching crayons. Our wild sprout, Elijah murmured nights. Gabe between them in the loft, breaths sinking small. Years accelerated. Gabe's laughter echoing trails. Mom's grand tales spinning yarns at firesides. Elijah grayed handsome. Isaiah's dark locks silver-threaded. Their hands veined maps of touch. Rescues became mentorship. Elijah training Gabe in knots and stars. Isaiah illustrating park guides with forest fables. One golden October. Ridgetop picnic. Gabe scampering ahead. Elijah pulled Isaiah close. Breath fogging chill air. Think we made it? He asked. Voice husky with decades. Isaiah grinned. Kissing knuckles. Lost and found. Every damn day. Below. Valleys rolled endless. America's spine unbroken. Their story etched eternal. Dramatic arcs bent romantic. Emotional tempests calmed human. Betrayal's bite sweetened to wisdom's fruit. The wild heart beats on. Whispering. In forests deep as souls. Love endures, not flawless, but fierce. A trail blazed true.